Greetings to all. This is Dr. Parishka Shresh, and today I'll be covering the topic on offenses affecting life, in which I'll be dealing about homicides. Homicide, as the word suggests, relates to the criminal liability where a person intentionally or knowingly kills another person. The word homicide is derived from two words, that is homo and sido. Homo means human and sido means I cut thus, or in a way where a human kills another human. As the name suggests, that homicide means a person killing another person or a human killing another human. It is a way where the liability only arises where both the victim as well as the offender are human beings, which is to say that if a man or a human gets killed by an animal, it is not considered as homicide, because the very fact that the law or the Indian law considers that a person has lost his life can arise only if it is meant by another person or human being. However, the question arises that whether it will be a punishable offense or not if any of the parties, like the offender as well as the victim, is not a human. Considering both the facts that if a human or a person is killed by an animal, the animal won't get liable for it, because there is no liability in cases where an animal is killing another human being. However, if the case is such that, or the facts of the case are such that the owner of that particular animal can be held vicariously liable for such of an act. However, in the second case, if any person or a human kills another, uh, any bird or any animal for that matter, there is no liability of for the offense of homicide or the act of homicide, but for the very reason that the animal, if it is endangered under and hunting being prohibited, so it will be an offense under the Wildlife Act, where the species of such an animal or bird is an endangered one. So killing of such an endangered species of animal or bird is an offense, and the person there obviously will be held liable for killing such an animal. Coming on to the types of homicides, we have lawful homicides and unlawful homicide. Lawful homicide means where the killing of a person is held to be justified or is held as an excusable act, while the unlawful homicides delve into the cases where the killing of a human being cannot be justified by the offender. Moving on to the acts that in the unlawful homicides also, there are some categories which fall under this head, which being mainly the culpable homicide. Now culpable homicide means where, and the word culpable means that the act is punishable, it is wrong, and it is prohibited by the act, and so it will be held liable, and it can attract and it will attract some punishments under the said act. So culpable homicide, that is punishable homicides, are also defined in the IPC, in which there are culpable homicides including murder, culpable homicides not amounting to murder, as well as there are some of the acts which are also considered to be justified homicides. Now, justified homicides, as stated earlier, it comes under the category of uh, lawful homicides. Lawful homicides or justifiable homicides, excusable homicides are the cases where, due to various provisions and due to various situations of the considering act, either the act is justified under the law or the act is excusable. Coming to the justifiable homicides talks about the cases where the act are justified under the law, which is to say that the offender or the person alleged who has committed such an act takes the advantage that the act is being justified under the law. By justified under the law, we means that where the act is devoid of any intention or any knowledge to kill a person, and the act is performed while considering oneself that the person is justified under the law and he is doing or he is acting in a legal manner. For example, if we say that uh, we have our soldiers, our armies who are guarding us, and in some of the situations they have to act against some terrorist organization or some groups who are creating uh, who are disturbing the peace of the country. So in that case, if some of the acts are done by our soldiers, then and if it causes harm, it is justified. And to that extent that if anyone loses its life, then it is also a justified homicide because as the soldiers being justified under the law. However, blind obedience is not an excuse for justifiable homicides. Second comes the case where our or the acts of the doctors are justified because they are performed for the saving of person's life or for the saving of the person's life, even in the cases where consent can be taken or in the cases where consent cannot be taken considering of the seriousness of the person's health. However, it is the main thing that the act are done by the doctors and being safeguards for them, and they perform the acts only for saving the person's life. The third category of justifiable homicides can also be included as the right of private defense. The right of private defense means the right which a person holds for oneself or for the body of another, for one's own property or for the property of another. These are the right of private defense. If anyone has a fear of like hurt, grievous hurt, or that the person can lose his life, then this justifiable homicides in the form of ROPD or right of private defense arises. The other type of homicide is excusable homicide. Excusable homicide means where the act is done, but it is considered that mens rea does not exist in those acts and they are excused. Like in case of involuntary intoxication, accident, in case of infancy, and etc. So these are the homicide and the types of homicides which are covered in this lecture. Thank you so very much.